Do you have a voice in your head that's constantly monitoring everything you eat? Maybe it's the one that tells you you shouldn't eat that, or you need to stick to that plan. This is the part of you that tracks calories, avoids certain foods, berates you when you mess up, and feels anxious when things aren't perfectly in control. This part can feel like a constant drill sergeant, and it can leave you exhausted. I'd like you to meet another emotional eating part, the food manager. This part of you is hyper focused on what you eat, how much you weigh, and how you look. It's not here to make your life harder. Really, it's not. It's trying to protect you. But its controlling strategies can often backfire, leaving you feeling stuck in a cycle of restriction, frustration, and overeating. Today, we're going to explore what the food manager is really about, where it comes from, and how you can work with it instead of feeling ruled by it. The food manager is one of the most common parts for people who are weight conscious or have spent years dieting. Its job is simple, to keep you in control of your eating so you don't face the consequences it fears. It wants to protect you from things like societal judgment, feelings of failure, or the shame of not meeting certain standards. And how does it do this? By creating and enforcing strict rules about food and your body. In IFS terms, the food manager is another protector. It sees the risks of gaining weight and not fitting societal expectations, and it steps in to manage those risks. It's the voice that says, you can't have that dessert, or you have to exercise more to make up for what you just ate. It believes that if it keeps you in control, you'll be safe. Safe from judgment, from rejection, or even your own self-criticism. But here's the challenge. The food manager's rigid rules can feel suffocating. You inevitably slip up because no one can be perfect all the time. It can lead to feelings of failure, shame, or even rebellion. Another part of you is going to jump in and say, forget it, we're eating whatever we want. Now, this cycle of control and rebellion can leave you feeling defeated and disconnected from your body. So where did your food manager come from? The food manager doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's been shaped by your past experiences and the messages you've internalized about food, weight, and your worth. Think back to your childhood or earlier life. Did you grow up in an environment where weight was heavily emphasized? Maybe you heard comments like, don't eat too much or you'll gain weight, or saw people around you constantly dieting and judging themselves in the mirror. Those experiences can create a belief that your value is tied to your size or how well you can control your eating. The food manager may also have developed as a response to societal pressure. Now, we live in a world that often equates thinness with worthiness and discipline. If you've ever felt judged or excluded because of your weight, the food manager might have stepped in to try to protect you from that pain. Its rules are an attempt to shield you from the criticism or rejection it believes will come to you if you don't conform to those certain expectations. Now, while the food manager's intentions come from a place of care, its methods, the rigid control and self-criticism, can be exhausting and harmful over time. Recognizing where this part comes from is the first step in shifting how you work with it. So think about a time when the food manager was in charge. Maybe it was telling you to skip a meal after overeating, or pushing you to exercise when you just retired. Maybe it convinced you to avoid social situations involving food because it didn't trust you'd stick to the plan. Now, in those moments, the food manager wasn't trying to make you miserable. It was trying to protect you from the discomfort of feeling out of control. But here's the thing. The food manager's rigid rules often set you up to fail. When you inevitably fall short of its high expectations, it can unleash a storm of self-criticism or trigger other parts, like the rebel eater that pushes back against the control. This back and forth can feel like a never-ending tug-of-war, leaving you stuck in the very cycles you were trying to break free from. So the alternative is to partner with your food manager. The key to working with your food manager is to show it that you hear its concerns, but that there's a better way to meet those needs. Instead of fighting its rules or letting it run the show, you can partner with it to find a more balanced approach to food and self-care. Start by getting curious. The next time you notice the food manager's voice, pause and just ask yourself, what's this part trying to protect me from? What is it afraid will happen if I don't follow the rules? You might discover that It's afraid of judgment, rejection, or just plain feeling out of control. So once you understand its fears, you can reassure it that you're listening and working on meeting it in a healthier way. So for example, if it's worried about judgment, remind it that your worth isn't tied to your size or what you eat. Practice self-compassion and focus on progress, not perfection. If it's afraid of losing control, show it that balance is possible. Instead of all or nothing thinking, try the most of the time and some of the time approach to eating. If it's using harsh criticism to motivate you, offer it a kinder voice. Instead of saying, "You messed up," try, "I'm learning and that's okay." The food manager might soften when it sees you're taking care of yourself without its rigid rules. So your food manager isn't the villain. It's a part of you that's trying to protect you in a world that places so much pressure on food and weight. By understanding its fears and showing it a gentler, more balanced way, you can transform your relationship with this part and begin to feel more at ease with food and your body. So in the next video, we'll tie everything together by exploring how these emotional eating parts work as a team and how you can help them collaborate in a way that supports your goals and your well-being. If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What does your food manager say to you? And what do you think it's trying to protect you from? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this series. Understanding your emotional eating parts is the first step to finding peace and freedom in your relationship with food. I'll see you in the next video.